When investigators finally stepped inside the compound at Black Hollow, they found 43 people had vanished overnight. There were no footprints in the dirt and no signs of a struggle, just candles still burning, doors swinging on their hinges, and bowls of soup still steaming on the dining tables. The mystery began on October 14, 2006, when truck drivers spotted a woman wandering a desolate highway in northern Montana. She was barefoot, covered in grit, and severely dehydrated. This was 29-year-old Elena Voss, but according to state records, Elena hadn't been seen in over a decade. She had been missing for 11 years. Detectives initially treated her as a survivor of an isolated extremist group. However, her subsequent psychological evaluation suggested something far more complex than standard indoctrination. Elena appeared to have lost all connection to modern life. She had no concept of what a television was or how money worked. Most disturbingly, she reacted with violent physical terror at the mere mention of the moon. While in custody, she repeated only one sentence to anyone who would listen: "Don't let them sing near the trees." Elena wasn't just suffering from memory loss. Her entire understanding of human reality had been systematically erased, replaced by the rules of an environment that doesn't exist on any map. Following Elena's directions, a police expedition pushed miles into a forest of dead gray timber to find the source of her trauma. On a Montana topographical map, you see intersecting property deeds and public land, but Black Hollow is a geographic ghost, missing from local records, internet archives, and historical surveys. Even on federal satellite maps, its exact coordinates cut out, leaving a jagged void. The physical site was even more contradictory. The cabins looked like they had been rotting for 40 years, yet the interiors were warm and active. Fresh animal blood was found smeared across the floors, still wet to the touch. Inside those cabins, officers found dozens of analog clocks. Every single one was perfectly synchronized to stop at 3:17 a.m. At the center of the camp sat a windowless church built of dark, weathered wood. Carved into the frame above the only door was a single warning: "He arrives when we stop looking." Between the temporal synchronization of the clocks and the geographical blind spots, the site functioned less like a village and more like an observation post, a place designed to wait for a specific, recurring event. In the church basement, investigators recovered a single undamaged VHS tape among hundreds of ruined ones. It was labeled "Final Gathering." The digitized footage begins with a mundane scene. The 43 missing residents are standing in a large circle, praying and singing in low, rhythmic tones. The atmosphere shifts when the cameraman whispers, "He's early." The singing stops instantly, and the entire group turns in perfect unison to face the dark forest outside. On the tape, the towering dead pine trees begin to move. They don't sway in the wind, they slide and shift apart, as if they are physically stepping aside to let something massive pass through them. There is no screaming and no panic. The residents begin to smile and weep as they walk willingly into the gaps between the trees, finally disappearing into the darkness of the woods. As the cameraman backs away, the tape captures a final audio fragment echoing from the forest. A deep, distorted voice, something that doesn't sound human, states, "You finally opened the door." The footage captures a migration rather than a tragedy. These 43 people didn't appear to be leaving life. They were answering a call from an entity that exists entirely outside our physical laws. The truth of Black Hollow proved to be psychologically corrosive. Within 48 hours of watching the unedited footage, all 3 investigators assigned to the case suffered total mental breakdowns. One officer clawed out his own eyes. Another vanished from a locked hospital room, leaving no indication of how he escaped. The third officer left a final note before his resignation. In his view, the gathering at Black Hollow served a much darker purpose. It wasn't a cult. They were feeding something. The federal government responded with an unprecedented blackout. The FBI permanently scrubbed the coordinates from all maps, and Elena Voss disappeared from protective custody 6 months later. But the anomaly appears to be ongoing. Modern hikers near those unmapped forests still report hearing soft, melodic singing coming from deep within the dead trees. The compound was never a solution to the mystery. It was merely a container. The ancient presence that took those 43 people remains active, waiting behind a solitary black door.